What's going on, and welcome back to another edition of the H&H Podcast. That's Henry Lake. I'm Ahmad Hicks. Some snowy, cold weather entering the Minnesota season for us right now, but the teams are somewhat heating up. Some teams cooling off like the weather outside right now. But the playoffs, nonetheless. Let's start with the national championship.
Okay.
Indiana won the national championship Monday night. Spectacular season for Curt Cignetti and his Hoosiers and the turnaround that program that we all just witnessed. We're talking about a team that has won 28 games in their last 2 seasons, and the 4 years prior to him coming, I think won less than 20 games in a 4-year span.
I'm not sure that I am going to be alive when they make the movie, but that's going to be one heck of a movie that they make. I don't know who's going to. Well, we don't know because they're probably not even born yet. The person that's going to play Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah.
But what a remarkable job by Curt Cignetti and his entire team. And I think back to him meeting the media in the first presser where he's like, "I win. Google me." Right?
How often do you hear a coach come out and say that, and you're like, he backs it up?
How confident are you in your coaching ability to say that at the presser?
Right.
That's like amazing to me. So, and he backed it up. Not only, and I think that one of the things that people tend to forget is that it's not a situation where they just won a national championship. They were in the college football playoff a year ago.
Yep.
They just weren't able to advance in the college football playoff.
Yep.
But back-to-back years of having that type of success, props to them.
I mean, like, I see a lot of people be like, well, if they can do it, someone else can do it. Then the first defense is, well, they spent a lot of money on NIL. Curt Cignetti came out this year and said, our NIL is not what you think it is.
Yep.
We're not just out there going and paying the highest paid recruit. He's going out there and he's getting meaningful players that can turn this program around.
Yep.
So I think when you hear him say that our NIL is not that big, that we're getting guys that have done it before. He said he's a lot about production over potential. When you hear that, when you see the makeup of his team, the senior leadership, etc., what does that make you feel like or think about when it comes to our hometown Minnesota Gophers and where they've been under PJ
That we
Fleck?
have to get off of this NIL, it's all about the money kick. Because we've seen other programs. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have NIL money, but they don't have the top-tier NIL money, but they're getting it done because of the fit. It's more about the fit and the player that you get in there and the chemistry you're able to develop than the actual money spent. Almost just like with professional sports. Right. A lot of times it's not about, the top dollar that's being paid. Now, we've seen some outliers in sports with the LA Dodgers, like they have been crushing here the last couple of years and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's got to be about fit. You cannot continue to talk about just dropping money on a player and it's going to work out in that way. We had the kid that went from Tennessee, and he goes out to LSU. I mean, not LSU. He went from Tennessee to UCLA. UCLA
Niko
wasn't any.
Medved.
Yeah, was not good at all. So to me, it's about fit.
It is about fit, but I think it's nothing short of remarkable what the Hoosiers in this program were able to do and just instill a lot of confidence in the college football world that balance is somewhat back.
Yeah, and he also brought guys to Indiana.
He did.
He
13
brought
JMU.
13.
Yeah.
Yes, he brought 13 guys from JMU. So that matters too.
It does, because they understood the winning culture. They understood what he was like. And
His
they're
system.
like, you know what? We're about to go in here. We're about to help other guys get acclimated to this. So hats off to the Hoosiers, man. That was a fun watch, fun season to be a part of, just witnessing them do what they did, especially the way that they were winning in the college football playoffs. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. Even Nick Saban didn't do this fast, this turnaround. So shout out to Curt. I'm looking forward to next year. I can't wait to see what they look like.
Yeah, shout out to him. I do want to give and put some respect on Reuben Bain Jr.'s name.
He's talented.
Because he was a problem.
He's talented.
Like he was I wonder what he was going to do in the national championship game, because he's much, discussed with regards to like the top 5 or top 10 picks. Man, he proved his worth.
Honestly, going back and looking at that tape, right, and watching that game over and seeing the highlights last night, if Miami's offense could have just done something in their first 4 to 5 drives of the game instead of going out there and going 3 and out, you could see the frustration on Carson Beck's face. If they would have just been able to sustain one drive, and credit to Indiana's defense, but had they been able to sustain one drive and go get some points, 3 or 7, talking about a completely different ball game. I think they were just playing catch up from the very beginning because of that first half and their inability to move the ball.
You know who Ruben Bain Jr. plays like a little bit to me, even though he's a thicker guy? He kind of reminds me of Jonathan Grenard.
Think so.
The way he's able to get to the quarterback.
Quick first step.
Yeah.
Twitchy guy. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Now, I mean, look, all right, the college football season is over, so now we're talking about drafts. The draft is inching up here. Got scouting combine that will begin here momentarily in Indianapolis.
There's one thing, though, that I think may have been revealed here yesterday, and I think that it's really a flaw that we have with college football. So they had the way too early, look ahead.
Yeah.
And they have Indiana, going back to back.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Bama would win all the time. They always had a back to back.
But
they always had a way too early.
Who's the quarterback for Indiana?
You don't know after Mendoza.
Exactly.
And
his brother left. But my point is, forget about who transfers in. Forget about all of that. We just don't know. It's way too little information.
But who was Fernando Mendoza when he came in last year?
He was a touted transfer from California.
He was good. They just got a decent transfer. You putting me on the spot here, but they did.
No, you don't have to know. I didn't mean literally you had to know the name, but I'm saying it's an unknown is my point.
I won't say Fernando was unknown, but I think
no. I'm talking about it's an unknown now about how.
But what I'm saying is the way that Kurt develops these guys, you have to have a lot of trust in him. He talked about Fernando. He said, look, he was one of those guys we had to have when he hit the portal. He said, now, he was a little behind when it came to progression skills, when it came to footwork in the pocket, when it came to mechanics, all these things. And he was like, we got a new quarterbacks coach, but we made it work. We got him up to speed. And it's like, all right, well, if you're doing that in year one, you can do that for everybody.
I just think that we get caught up into this. We look at who just did what, and we initially put them right back in that spot, and we prop them up. And a lot of times they're not able to go back to back like that. And it's fine to say, look, they had a phenomenal year. They're undefeated. Who's ready to assume the crown? I totally get that. But, man, I think it's a little bit early to be doing that.
It is early because I would like to put Ohio State in that mix. I'm talking about Cornell Tate, Chris Henry Jr., new recruit they got coming in, Jeremiah Smith his last year in college, and Julian Sand, who is a redshirt freshman this year, will be a redshirt sophomore next year, who will be a really talented Heisman finalist type guy. So if I'm putting my chips in a basket right now, I probably have to pick the Buckeyes. I think they're right where they need to be, but then again, you never know what team may come out of the SEC. A lot of people.
Well, Georgia's going to be back in the mix.
Georgia will be right there. You got to think that Ole Miss will probably be there if they get Trinidad back, and then LSU, what they may be able to do with Lane Kiffin. So
Texas definitely in the mix.
Texas going to be right there. Bama may try and sneak back up. You never know. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm a big fan of college football, so I'm already excited for next August and whatever that new year brings. All right, that being said, we're talking hoops now at the NCAA level. It's been a tough stretch for the Golden Gophers, the men's team and the women's team for that matter. But the men, man, they've struggled. So they had a good win at home, and then they followed that up with the loss to USC at home. Followed that up with the buzzer beater loss to Wisconsin at home. Went on the road, took a top 15 Illinois team to the wire. And then most recently, yesterday against Ohio State, had that game in regulation. Langston Reynolds had another opportunity for a lay-in at the end of the game with about 4 seconds left to win it. He misses it. They go on to overtime. They fall 82-74 to the Buckeyes. Tough stretch for Medved, but they're only playing 6 guys. It's hard to win in the Big Ten with 6 guys.
They're playing their hearts out. They really are. And I know that I tend to not really be that person with the whole silver linings thing.
He's not either.
But they're right there every time.
They are.
They are right there every time. And I think that you would have the ability maybe to close out some of these games if you had a bench.
Yeah.
When you are a first-year head coach, and you're limited with the guys that you have on your roster, and you had guys that got hurt early in the year, it's going to be tough on you. He's only playing 7, man.
Right, and really 6 meaningful minutes because that 7th player is logging like 8
the point
minutes
guard.
a game.
Yep.
So it's kind of like Grove. So it's like, what are you really doing?
Well,
in this conference?
the kid that was at the end of the game that was trying to defend on the last shot against Wisconsin. He's a kid that doesn't get a whole lot of minutes
You're
either.
talking about Grove, I believe.
No. The light skin is his Schuster or something like that. Whatever. I can't.
Oh yeah, Kay Shinholster.
Yeah, Shinholster. Yeah. So he in that game, like, you know, he's just an inexperienced kid. You know what I'm saying? But they needed a body. You know, and he was out there. They needed a body.
I was watching. I was like, who is that guy? I was like,
yeah, because he's not really in the rotation, but they needed somebody to step in there because they needed a body. But they are playing hard. They really are. That one last night against Ohio State, it was back and forth the entire way. I thought that when Ahmad hit the 3 and they went up 4, that they would be able to maybe start to pull away. Not so much.
Man, this team is just something about. I feel like, one, you talk about teams. Everybody has a 7 to 8 man rotation, so I don't want to take that out of context where it's like, oh my God, they can't win. Like, a lot of teams only play 7 to 8 deep, so guys can get in a groove and things like that. But when you're talking about your
it's different though. It's I mean, I cut you off, but it's different because they're playing 7 guys out of necessity.
Right.
These other programs that are playing 7 and 8 or 9, they're playing them because they have that depth there.
For sure.
So it's a little bit different.
And I was gonna provide context that the starters for Minnesota all average about 33 plus minutes a game. That's a lot of minutes on your body, especially when you're talking about being in the Big Ten, that conference, because there's no let up. I mean, so it's like you lose a tough game to Ohio State. Guess what? You got a top 10 ranked opponent in Nebraska that you're getting set to face this Saturday at the Barn at 11 a.m. So it's like, man, it's tough. Well, it ain't getting any easier. But that being said, I like where Niko has his program headed right now, because there was at a point last year where you played competitive good teams in the Big Ten, and this is no shade towards Ben Johnson, but they played competitive Big Ten teams, and they weren't even competitive. Like, it was just like blowout, 15, 20-point win. Oh, they're in it by 6, 7 points. Next thing you know, it's an 18-point lead, whereas you feel like this team under Medved always has a chance. They always have an opportunity to win, but they're this close. Like, Langston Reynolds maybe hits a layup against Wisconsin, puts them ahead or ties the game, but you know, Kate Tyson did go down and hit that 3, and then Blackwell came down and gamed them for Wisconsin. Lucky for them, they get a chance to get a little get back next week against them. USC game at the buzzer, one of those games that you thought they had won.
I think that the USC, that was the game that they should have had.
They should have had that game.
I thought that was the game at the Barn, because you were, I don't say you had a commanding lead, but you had a lead and things looked somewhat comfortable, and then you let USC just go on a tear. Now, you fought your tails off to get right back into the game and get it to overtime, so I totally get that. But that was the game out of all the games.
Yeah.
To know that you go into Purdue and you're right there with them at halftime.
Right there.
When you know that you go into Illinois and you're right there with them at halftime. Like,
at the end of the game, too.
Can't nobody tell me that they're not battling, they're not fighting hard.
They are, and it's exciting. It's like coaches always say, we try not to look ahead. You try to focus on the present, but it's so hard for me in my shoes doing a coach's show later today with Niko Medved to not look ahead for what's to come with this program, because if they just had like 2 of their guys, you know, that gotten injured this year, and say, hey, maybe we have an 8 to 9 man rotation, this is a team that's probably like a bubble team right now. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that.
If they beat USC and they beat Ohio State, I think that they are a team that people look at and say they're way ahead of schedule. And I still think they're ahead of schedule. They're way ahead of schedule, and potentially, if they could collect a couple of more signature wins, they could be on the bubble.
Yeah, losing Robert Viola right before the season. Well, 5 games into the season, that was a big blow. He was a nice transfer coming in. And then you got Nehemiah Turner, was another guy, 6'10" guy, who they probably were going to lean on just a little bit. He also got injured early in the season. So you're talking about 2 big bodies that they lost, and they lack a little bit of depth inside for sure. So good things coming for the Gophers. We've been saying that all year long. Just a tough stretch that they're going through right now. 4-game losing streak. Now let's talk about the women. 2-game losing streak for them as well. They play UCL at home, play well. sparingly throughout that game.
Yeah, but that's just a bad matchup.
Yeah, that top 5 team.
Yeah.
This is talking about a team. We were speaking to their coach after the game. Potentially have 5 players that could get drafted in the first round of the WNBA draft.
That's crazy.
Like, all right, so that's very, very tough. Then they had a very bad loss against the Washington team. Kind of a loss that I didn't expect in a fashion that I didn't see them losing. Nonetheless, have an opportunity to bounce back tonight at 8 o'clock against Oregon. Dawn Plitzuweit, I think they're in a stretch right now where Amaya Battle said, now is not when you want to be playing your best basketball. You want to be playing your best basketball in March. But one could argue with the veteran presence that she has on this team, Dawn Plitzuweit, that you would like to see a little bit more continuity from the young ladies and more wins right now because I won't say the time is now, but this is the 3rd year for Coach P.
Yeah, I love Amaya, and I agree that you want to be playing your best basketball at the end, but you don't want to be in a situation where you're on the bubble at the end.
Right.
You just can't have that. They have to step it up, and you're right. Like, the time is now to step it up because we know that these women are capable of not just going to the NCAA tournament. I think that actually, depending on the matchups, the Gopher women can win a game, maybe 2, depending on the matchup. I still kind of question the point guard play, but they could win a game in the NCAA tournament. So, but you don't want to be on the bubble. You don't want to go into the conference tournament feeling like you gotta win it or
I agree. I think now's the time where they need to start solidifying some of these close wins at home. I mean, you talk about Maryland. They had on the ropes at home a top 10 team that they lost. They had a 9-point lead with like 50 seconds left. So I think those are the games that they need to start winning because the last place that you want to be when it comes end of February, beginning of March is on the bubble. Yep. You want to be one of those teams just like, all right, they got these signature wins against these people. They beat these teams on the road. Like, we got them as kind of like a team that could be in the first round without having to win the Big Ten tournament. So I think that's where you want to be, or at least be in a spot where a good showing in the Big Ten tournament can put you in the dance instead of just having to win it. So 8 o'clock tip tonight against Oregon for Coach Plitzuweit and her crew. Hopefully they can bounce back. And speaking about bouncing back, Minnesota Timberwolves. They had a good stretch of wins a couple of weeks ago, and now it's been fading a little bit as of late, right before All-Star break. Let's start with this, though. Anthony Edwards is an All-Star, but he's not an All-Star starter.
Yeah.
Does that bug you?
No, because we know it's a popularity contest. We know that when you look at the All-Star voting, it's separated between media, fans, and players.
Right.
And I think amongst the players, he was like the 4th guy. With the fans, I think he was like the 7th guy.
He was the 6th guy.
Okay, and then with the media, he was like the 5th guy. So he was right there. Like the cutoff of the top 5, the next guy was Anthony Edwards. I don't have an issue with it just because a lot of stuff's going to change anyway because LeBron's on his way out the door. And LeBron's not even, he's not even starting this year either. And I think that some of the luster, some of the shine from Luka, I think is going to come down a little bit because I think that people are looking there. They're like, we love Luka. He's a shot maker. But all this complaining and lack of winning in LA, I think that's going to work against him. But my point is that we know it's a popularity contest. It doesn't bother me.
And that's what I was thinking too. And then, all right, yeah, Luka is not a two-way player. He does have a lot of cons to go with his pros, but you're talking about 2 guards in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic that have beaten Anthony Edwards the last 2 times in the playoffs. And then you're talking about the popularity contest and Steph Curry and Victor Wembanyama.
I think that Steph right now, and has been for years, I think he is the most likable NBA player.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why he got that vote.
Yep, that's why he gets the vote.
I'm not mad about it, but I am mad about that Utah Jazz loss and in which the way that they lost, because you're talking about a team that had close games versus the Rockets, a close game versus the Spurs, playing competitive teams, and then you come out and you lay an egg versus a non-competitive team.
It's terrible. Like, you don't lose to the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz are not a good basketball team.
And they've been putting belt to butt all year against the Jazz.
They had a double-digit lead in the second half against the Utah Jazz. Yeah. And I thought that, quite honestly, in the fourth quarter, the shot selection was terrible by the Wolves. And didn't nobody want to play defense. Like, you got to close that team out.
And this is a team that relies heavily on their defense. So when they're not giving it all on their end, then they're, I won't say a mediocre team after that, but they're a middle of the pack team when they're not focused and locked in defensively, which you hate to see them let their guard down, because this is the exact same thing that Anthony Edwards spoke about before the season, and how saying against these mediocre, below the pack teams, I'm going to go out there and go have a field day. I'm going to have a scoring day because I have to, normally I let my other guys get off. That was a problem in years past. So you thought they kind of had this corrected with the way that they played, especially with the way they played against the Bucks just a week and some change ago. You just knew, all right, maybe they got this thing rolling. They got their identity, and then had one of these games versus the Jazz. That's a game you can't have, but they have a bounce-back opportunity Thursday against the Chicago Bulls, who are not that good this year. And then
they always play us tough, though.
They do.
They always play us tough. Kobe White, it doesn't matter who they got, man. They play us tough.
They do. They do play them tough. And then you know what? There's a lot of chatter about how Anthony Edwards should have been a starter, an all-star game, Steph Curry getting the popularity vote. You got 2 games in 4 days against the Warriors here coming up. No better time than to show the NBA world that you should have got that all-star selection for a starter over Steph Curry maybe, and go out there and go show up.
I don't think there's a world where I'm going to make that argument. Anthony Edwards over Steph. And the only reason why I say that is because it's voting, man. We vote on this, and Steph Curry is a GOAT.
Fact.
So I ain't got no problem.
I can't argue.
I'm an Anthony Edwards
Me
fan.
Too. I'm a huge
I'm massive in that.
Yeah.
Like before he even got here at Georgia, I'm like, man, what?
I was a Golden State Warriors fan, still a Golden State Warriors fan because of Steph Curry. And I was hoping they got Anthony Edwards over not Kuminga, James Wiseman.
James Wiseman.
I was like, please get Curry, please. Get Anthony Edwards.
Well, because that year it was
Warriors.
Ant, it was LaMelo, and it was Wiseman.
Yeah, and so I was hoping that the Warriors got. Can you imagine the Golden State Warriors with Anthony Edwards? Hate to do that to you, Minnesota fans. I'm not trying to pry him away, but I'm just saying.
Hater.
But two games against the Warriors, then you got one against the Mavs, and then you got one against the Thunder. And Ja Morant. So a nice couple of games to end out this month of January. A real good identity test, I feel like, for this team, because as you know, once the All-Star break comes, the playoffs essentially start. Because now everybody's playing for playoff seeding. Everybody's playing not to be in a play-in tournament and things like that. So I think that's when things start to heat up. So I think now is the time that the Timberwolves want to find a little bit of momentum heading into that All-Star break so they can hit the ground running post-All-Star break, go get that seeding, avoid the play-in, and kind of rest up a little bit, before this gauntlet really gets going in the playoffs. Yeah,
no, I'm with you. That was a bad loss last night. You touched on it. We gotta get that corrected.
Yeah. So all right. So they got the Bulls coming up Thursday, 7:00 here in Minnesota at the Target Center. I think the temperatures outside that night will be about -20 degrees. So hopefully Anthony Edwards and the team.
But what about Saturday against Golden State Saturday, right?
Yeah, Saturday at 4:30 on ABC.
Yeah, that's going to be the day in which we don't get above zero. We don't get above zero because I'm going to be at Twins Fest. I'm going to be hosting at Twins Fest.
Welcome to the frigid temperatures, Golden State. Let's see how you guys embrace to that. All right, that'll do it for another episode of the H&H Podcast. I got to run. I got to get downtown and go talk to Niko Medved about his Gophers for another Gopher Coaches Show. So make sure y'all tune in to that later tonight on Fox 9 Plus and Fox 9. That's Henry Lake. I'm Ahmad Hicks. We'll see you all next week, same time, same place.